If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy.
We interrupt what you're watching right now to bring you this.
That's Nicholas Tesla. This is the Golden Debate Show, fresh off the Golden Show. Early1of.com from fucking FEMA Region 1. Like, comment, share, and download, and stay golden. Open minds, not empty ones, is the only way we're going to shine the golden light in the darkness. That is the vampires that control this whole motherfucker. Haha, let's do it. Yeah. So right here, I was supposed to play the Golden Debate Show. Yeah. But I put the wrong theme in, queued it up. It's alright though, we're gonna keep it live, we're gonna keep it juicing, we're gonna keep it golden, and yeah. Bananas ain't even a fruit, motherfucker, they're an herb. Because the more boys are born in the day, the more girls are born at night. That's why they say that the man's like the sun, the rays, the phallic symbol that penetrates. And the girls like the nighttime, because they're like the moon. Let's get golden with it, y'all. Golden Debate Show, I'm gonna mad that to the cat. I'm like, let's get it in 2-minute news from YouTube.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of News in 2 Minutes, bringing you the news that you need to know every day. Let's begin. Tension over Russia's continued vie for control over Ukraine has reignited following the Ukrainian government's official filing of a suit against the country with the European Court of Human Rights over Crimea's ascension to Russia and amid a pledge by the United States to send over $1 billion worth of military support to the Eastern European nation. Analysts warn that the pledge of military support will re-intensify a dangerous standoff between both nuclear-armed Russia and the West amid the unrest that continues to unfold within the Ukrainian populace, including increasingly violent confrontations between loyalist citizens and pro-Russian separatists calling themselves the People's Republic as they continue to fight for an end to the current administration and Western-backed government. Officials in Alaska have raised the warnings to their highest levels in 5 years following an ongoing eruption at Alaska's Pavlov volcano, where volcanologists suggest that a long-duration eruption may be underway, following a noted intensification as reports show that the ash cloud may reach as far as 22,000 feet away from the volcano and stretch for nearly 80 kilometers away from its peak. Leading infectious disease researchers are continuing the fight against the Ebola virus, which, according to recent statistics, continues to hold above a 70% mortality rate in combination with an apparently increasing morbidity rating across Guinea and Sierra Leone. Research shows that the scientists working from within the confines of quickly erected emergency isolation centers and behind biological suits where suspected patients are quickly brought in and put into isolation are desperate to determine the reason for the disease's repeated increase in virulence, as well as the obstacles that lie ahead as government officials work hard to slow the chain of transmission associated with the disease. Emergency response teams are reported to have been readied across the world to assist in expedited containment and control measures if international research shows that local and international authorities are unable to control the spread of the virus, or if a change in the structure of the disease makes it an impending worldwide threat. Scientists working with the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator are continuing their unending effort to discover and document the existence of antimatter, while researchers opposed to the notably dangerous work behind particle acceleration warn of the far-reaching consequences should an accident take place at the facility. And to wrap things up, the Canadian government has allegedly banned government meteorologists from discussing or even mentioning climate change. Experts are pushing the Tokyo Electric Power Company to increase cesium absorption at the Fukushima nuclear site following an influx in radiation leaks. And a 5.2 in Peru, followed by a notable 3.4 west of Yellowstone, Montana, completes today's Quake Watch. And that's it for this episode of News in 2 Minutes. Check back tomorrow for more news that the aware need to know.
Obama's administration has put together a new climate plan. It is filled with historic environmental rules that look to cut carbon pollution from power plants by 30%. On the one hand, this is really significant because this is the first climate plan of this magnitude that both recognizes the extent to which we need to curb carbon emissions and also significantly puts these limits on power plants. However, many states are already more than 10 percentage points on their way to the 30 required by this plan, and some have even gone further than that. So for many states that are already on the ball, this isn't really that drastic. So two sides to this. In either case, the new rules are significant. The EPA says that the regulations would fight climate change while supplying America with reliable and affordable power. Al Gore said that the new rules are the most important step taken to combat the climate crisis in our country's history. However, a lobbying group for the coal industry, which is going to be the hardest hit by these new rules, said the regulations would hurt the economy and lead to power outages. Quote, if these rules are allowed to go into effect, the administration, for all intents and purposes, is creating America's next energy crisis. The rules could affect about 1,600 power plants, 600 of which operate on coal, and many more many of those are almost 50 years old and will have significant difficulty meeting these standards. Now, the Chamber of Commerce, a very pro-big business group, said that the new rules would cost $51 billion to the economy, and they would put nearly 250,000 people out of work. A couple thoughts on this. Number one, the argument around jobs ignores the fact that the potential for new jobs, if we truly get going on renewable energy, outweighs the potential loss of jobs as a result of these regulations. It's just a matter of whether the U.S. is going to take the lead on energy, or are we going to allow countries like India, China, Brazil to really take the lead on renewable energy technology. I've been saying for a long time, George W. Bush could have been the energy president if he had wanted to, didn't really care. President Obama hasn't done that much. Maybe this is the beginning of it. President Obama could be the energy president if he wants to. The jobs lost argument doesn't sit well with me at all, because the potential for new jobs, if we in a serious manner say we will be the ones who take action on renewable energy, the benefit there drastically would outweigh the potential loss of jobs from coal regulations.
That's true, assuming that loss of jobs happens. David, I think this is a completely insignificant plan.
So let's
I
get
think
it in.
30% by 2030 is completely ridiculous.
The government is spying on your selfies. New leaked documents reveal that the NSA is collecting, mining, and tracking data for facial recognition as part of their global surveillance program. So the leaked documents read as follows. It's not just the traditional communications we're after. It's taking a full arsenal approach that digitally exploits the clues a target leaves behind in their regular activities on the net to compile biographic and biometric information to help implement precision tracking. So the NSA is collecting millions and millions of messages daily, and some 55,000 or so every day are sort of facial image recognition quality, as they call them. They're essentially saying we want to know who everyone is, have data on them, and not just data on who they are and what their face looks like. They also gather data from a bunch of other sites all about us, and then use all that data to make inferences about who we are. So they discover things like our religious affiliation, political affiliations, our gender, and also sexual orientation, things that we may not have voluntarily given ourselves.
But we are voluntarily giving our images, and every time on your social media accounts, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or what, when you tag your friends or somebody else tags you, that's going into that database.
So the question is, why are we so comfortable providing this information to Instagram, Facebook, and other social media sites, when after all, the government is supposedly just using this information to protect us, right? Facebook is using it to capitalize and monetize,
elements mixed in the lab, combined powerfully.
On our data. But we don't seem to be having a problem with that. We're just like, sure, we won't just tell you it's a photo of me. I'll make sure I hashtag it a selfie so that you know that account is absolutely having a picture of the owner's account on there.
And if they're capturing 55,000 of these daily, you can't really make a case for saying that this is helping to protect us against terrorism. Are there 55,000 terrorists a day out there running around? If that's the case, we're in trouble.
Well, it's millions of images, actually. It's just 55,000 of them happen to be of high enough quality and resolution and happen to have faces so that they can use them for their database. But really, it's just millions of images they're capturing from all over. Now, what's crazy about this, too, is that it's not technically illegal to capture images. So it is technically illegal for the NSA to eavesdrop on our conversations, on our telephone or email. They do it illegally anyway, we know this. But for images, there aren't any clear rules around this.
There's no legislation about face recognition data.
I just think this issue ought to be addressed by the Committee of Jurisdictions. In this case, the Judiciary Committee, also the Financial Services Committee. We do hear stories of outside of military bases, veterans being exploited. And so I'm just concerned of what it actually means, and I think it ought to be looked at by the Committee of Jurisdictions and not by the Appropriations Committee at 11:15 at night. So for that reason, I oppose the amendment.
Gentleman yells back.
I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
Let's take a vote.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Chairman, we yield for a minute. I concur with the chairman.
It may be an appropriate move, but not in our bill, not at this time, because we don't completely understand it.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Missouri. Gentleman's yield is back his time. All time expired. Pursuant to, the questions on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Missouri. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those say no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, I'm betting even money that this will not end up in the final write-up.
Oh, that's possible.
They'll pull it out.
And this was I think, because I saw some of the same, it was a very long session they did.
Oh, yeah.
And
when it was like I said, this was at 11:15 at night.
Yeah, and wasn't this the 2015 Commerce, Justice, Budget Improvement, Science Spending Bill? Yeah, exactly.
So the Justice Department's in there, so they could put that in there. But whether the old FBI obeys anything is hard to say.
There was another amendment that was put in and passed. And I have the reading of that amendment, amendment number 100, entered by Grayson, who...
I have Grayson's, too. Now...
Go ahead. You got it set up.
I just got I got the first part of Grayson's thing, and then I have the second part where they... Again, this guy, Fata Chaka, whatever his name is...
Chaka Khan.
Chaka Khan from Pennsylvania comes out and blabs about it. But yeah, you can play... Mine's pretty short, so that maybe it'll be...
Yeah,
here it is. Yeah.
Does the gentleman from Florida rise?
I have an amendment at the desk, Grayson number 100.
The clerk will report the amendment.
I'm all in. Those warp elements mixed in the lab, combined powerfully.
Just kidding.
JK.
Kidding.
Amendment offered by Mr. Grayson of...
When you make a joke and I say just kidding and then mumble, that's the hallmark of a bad joke, everybody.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Amendment offered by Mr. Grayson of Florida. At the end of the bill, before the short title, add the following new section. Section, none of the funds made available by this act may be used to compel a journalist or reporter to testify about information or sources that the journalist or reporter states in a motion to quash the subpoena that he has obtained as a journalist or reporter and that he regards as confidential.
Pursuant to the order of the House today, the gentleman from Florida and a member opposed each control 5 minutes.
This don't make no sense.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida.
I regret bringing this up at 10:30 at night. I apologize for that because this is a weighty matter, and I think it deserves fair consideration. I hope that we're not all too tired to deny this question the attention that it deserves. The purpose of this amendment is to raise the possibility of a federal shield law.
And we didn't like it. When you read from a teleprompter, like I'm a turn down, go to show, go to
So there's no real conflict. Michael Druniak, including Lincoln himself, Daniel Day-Lewis. Behind Monica Lewinsky, the one and only Trey Songz is here. But Allison Lundergan Grimes, Gina Day Jesus, when Gina Day Jesus, Tea Party challenger Matt Bivens. People don't want to have their Social Security overall. The Republican savior, Mark Rubio's big night in evolution and Galileo. I mean, this whole thing of Galileo. America.
A lot of people have actually worked at Area 51, and they have told me that they worked with beings who were from another planet. And they said there's more than one kind.
A large and a small nose ray, a reptile, an orange, a blue, and the humanoids.
And you have all these shows, movies, dramas, cartoons, comic books, where returning veterans are Al-Qaeda. We have the Washington Times, we have the Forbes magazine, AP, Reuters,
Look, folks,
Southern Poverty Law Center, all of them in the last 2 years coming out with countless headlines that the vets are going to team up with Al-Qaeda and attack America. The vets are going to team up with Al-Qaeda and the Tea Party and attack America. The vets will attack your police department, police. This is what the media says. You've gotten the internal reports going back 6 years. It's been public for 2. We first broke this. But police all know you get these reports that say you will be attacked by veterans with IEDs fighting for Al-Qaeda. And the number one terror threat is veterans linked up with the Tea Party and Al-Qaeda. Ladies and gentlemen, that's like saying in a comic book fashion that Superman likes kryptonite and puts it on a cereal in the morning. The most Islamophobic, if you want to use that liberal term, group is the Tea Party. The most pro-war group in the past has been the Tea Party type group.
Elements
the
mixed
last
in the lab,
people,
combined
I know
powerfully.
so many vets, so many troops. I mean, even if they don't like the wars and know the wars were a fraud, they had buddies and people killed in combat. I have a lot of family that are active duty. I mean, they absolutely hate the jihadis with a passion and want to continue to go re-up just so they can fight them and kill them and settle vendettas and scores. It is 180 degrees the opposite of reality, but that's how the PSYOP works. They found in psych warfare that if you put out a lie so big, as Hitler said, the bigger the lie, the bigger they'll, just repeat it enough, they'll believe it. To say that the liberty movement and the Tea Party and the anti-Federal Reserve movement, the pro-gun movement, the pro-family movement is linking up with Muslim extremists and that the veterans are linking up with both groups.
You look at how much money's been spent in the Iraq War, how much money's been spent in Afghanistan. Is there a way to take 30% of that and put it into our schools? Because, oh my God, the school system would radically change. Our education system would radically change. The amount of people that would come out of these educational systems that were more balanced, more aware, had more nuanced perspectives would radically change. Our country would radically improve. Like over the course of a decade, if you could just figure out a way to put that kind of power in people's hands, what they choose to do.
Well, I think the way that you do that is comes back to what we were saying earlier, is actually literally doing it by getting rid of these kind of big organizations, central government organizations that try and run the whole system from some office somewhere that's completely removed from the parents and the kids that's actually using the schools, and really give responsibility for the way the schools operate to local communities so that they can try things out, because every kid is different, they learn in different ways and whatever, and it feels to me like when it comes to education we got this approach which is someone has decided, this is the theory, this is how we're going to get kids to learn whatever it may be, and we're going to try and have a kind of common application of that in every school, and everyone's going to teach the same way, and that's great. And I just think the evidence shows that is not right. It doesn't work for every kid, and you want to have a system where you've got much more ability to experiment and try things out and adapt things to each different type of child and the way that they learn. And I think we need to see a lot more kind of smaller schools where they're much more kind of community run, a bit like you're saying with the gardening. I think a community approach to these things is going to be the way to do it. You definitely need the money, of course, to sort of have high quality as well. So I agree with that. It's just that if you just put more money into the current system of organising schools, I don't think you'll get the kind of benefit that you could if you actually gave the power over the system and took it away from the people at the centre and put it in the hands of people locally. That's how I would do it.
And if they did that, you could also see the results, positive and negative, and imitate the positive ones.
Exactly.
Like you could see, like these people have an approach, and their approach is more sort of Waldorf school based and less electronics and more wooden toys and interacting with kids.
I'm all in. Those elements mixed in the lab, combined powerfully.
So creative. But then there's another place in San Francisco that's much more tech evolved. Everybody has an iPad and all these kids. Well, there's a benefit there as well. I mean, I think schools are a huge issue. The massive underfunding of education in this country is a huge, huge issue. And it's madness. And it's almost like sort of ensuring that poverty and that there's going to be...
I think that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and a lot of it is the kind of people that go into teaching. You you'd want the best people, the smartest, best people going into teaching. It's like the most important job.
That get paid $20,000.
Right, and they're not going to get that.
Out of this fucking vibrant nothingness, matter, energy, space, time,
a lot of these people that are in different fraternities and shit actually go by very
came out.
There's other guys that they look like.
How is it that something as unconscious as a mass of the brain can ever give rise to something as immaterial as an experience?
If you want to see fear in a quantum physicist's eyes, just mention the words, the measurement problem. The measurement problem is this: an atom only appears in a particular place if you measure it. In other words, an atom is spread out all over the place until a conscious observer decides to look at it. So So the act of measurement or observation creates the entire universe.
Only conscious beings can be observers, then we're intimately hooked into the very existence of reality. Without us, there would just be this expanding superposition of possibilities with nothing definite ever actually happening.
Out of millions and millions of blobs of energy and light, photons and electrons, they make up this imaginary three-dimensional solid world, which doesn't exist at all according to relativity or quantum mechanics.
Anytime we attempt to look at particles beyond a certain level, the very act of observation changes things.
And in addition, the more you look at individual particles, the more you realize that there is no such thing as one electron. An electron, or any elementary particle, exists only in relationship to other things, like other particles or the universe at large. This means that deeply enough, when you dive down into the nature of matter, everything we know about the everyday world dissolves. There are no objects anymore. There are only relationships. There's no locality anymore. There's no time anymore. The more you look at something in detail, in what we think of as solid matter,
of these on the Golden Show,
the less
so
and
I'm not
less
going to read
solid
them all,
it begins to look.
These are some old
The only realities
slang
we know are
phrases
the ones our brain manufactures. Our brain receives
Happy
millions of
cabbages that
signals
spending
every
money.
minute.
Pine over coat is that coffin. Zib is being dumb. Copping a mouse is a black eye. Don't sell me a dog is lying. Fly rink is a bald head. Take the eggs, win the title. Sauce box is the mouth. Pretzel bender's drunk. Full as a tick is drunk. Pair of draws is 2 coffees. No, a bad tipper is a Giorgetti. Rare meat is on the hoof. Having one shirt out is to be angry. A lean away is drunk. Fix your audio is.
I'm all in. Those warp elements mixed in the lab, combined powerfully.
Right in the maypole or staff of life. And the woman would be the Phoenix Nest or Mount Pleasant. Eggs on toast is chicks on a raft. Franks on beans is hounds on an island. French fries are frog sticks. Water is dog soup or city juice. Like to read this though. Fear and eagle are the killer of life and talent. Love and humbleness are its tag team partners. Fear, F-E-A-R, should mean face everything and always remain. We learn and feel little from victory, but much from defeat. You don't live once, but you do die once. And Ben Franklin keeps running through my head. 3 may keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. When you don't follow through on a plan, you go to make a rum cake and end up drunk with plain cake. No one can buy or access more time. Time is absolute for everybody. The only thing known is death and life. There are all types of music and people. Some speak the truth and others are just noise. And if the devil only punishes bad and evil, doesn't that kind of make him good or at very least useful? You know, to see the darkness, you got to see the light, or to have the light, you got to know about darkness, and that's golden. So always keep your ideas bulletproof, because at the end of the day, those are the only things that are open minds and not empty ones. And a quick thing that I read, which was kind of interesting about the Malaysia airplane thing, is a special microchip that had a patent on it, KL03 microchip. Well, Jacob Rothschild becomes the sole patent owner when the flight was lost and disappeared. What that chip specialized in was RF, aerospace and defense communications, avionics, high-frequency radars, BL and S-band, once it's for communication and missile guidance, electric variance identification. The U.S. patent was 8650327. Well, that is ironic because it needed to be more than just 2 people to be lost for him to gain it, and I think there was 20 people on that plane that had to do with that chip. That's kind of fucking nuts. And as you know, Obama released a prisoner once you're never supposed to negotiate with the terrorists, right? That's the whole reason for the wars, right? It's the Al-Qaeda. But yo, we give up 6 top Talibans for one dude that at the end of the day, I ain't even for war. Why go to war if you're going to be a traitor? So he's a traitor. Plus, no one's talking about the other 5 or 6 Marines and soldiers that died just trying to save this motherfucker for the 5 years, whatever he's been gone. So this is just pretty much crazy that, you know, now that just put the big bullet on our head. It's going to give us a reason to stay in war. And it's pretty much all perpetual, y'all, because that's how they make their money. Mega jumping around, but worth it. I'm going to read The Winner Within by Pat Riley, and I'm going to continue it actually next week because it's a pretty good book, whatever I don't finish. The U.S. Department of Justice thus shrinking in the size of... Did I say my ball? No, it says me, Bill. And affecting the destiny of more than 1 million employees after medical complications are reported. A brand of intravenous contraceptions is ordered off the market by federal
I'm all in. Those warp elements mixed in the lab, combined powerfully.
Bankrupt. All of these are Thunderbolt situations, and Thunderbolts are a prime factor in upsetting the competitive apple cart. Whether it is a powerful competitor drastically lowering his prices or a quality inspector dramatically increasing standards, a Thunderbolt spells immediately adversity for someone, but that adversity also carries a positive change. It strips away all the non-essentials and forces you back to your basic strengths. Adversity shoves you down to your core values and beliefs. To the things that matter most back on bedrock, you find the reasons and strength to carry on and carry through. Sometimes when adversity strikes, we rail against fate. We brutally and unfairly punish ourselves or we lash out at the people around us. We blame others. We stop and wait for someone else to show us the way to open the door, or we play the victim. That's the way it goes. There's nothing I could do. It was meant to be. That's what happened to the Lakers in 1983. We were defending champions with yet another chance to become the first team to win back-to-back championships since 1969. Then disaster struck. Our last regular season game was completely meaningless contest against the Phoenix Suns. We were down to the last few minutes, already plotting playoff strategies. James Worthy, a brilliant 22-year-old rookie who played the game with the same kind of sweet intensity that Marvin Gaye brought the soul music, swooped into the lane to a rebound and missed shot. He collided midair with the Suns' power forward and fell to the floor. At the instant he hit the wood, he heard a bone in his leg snap. It was against James, was the top draft pick in the entire league and had been named to the NBA All-Rookie team. He was scoring for us in double figures. Why did this have to happen now, I thought bitterly. Still, we had more than enough time and enough to win. We advanced to the finals with 8 victories against just 3 losses, but in the very last game prior to the finals, lightning struck again. Bob McAdoo, one of the chief reasons we had won the previous year's title, tore a hamstring muscle and was lost to us. Then in the game 1 of the finals, our first-string shooting guard Norm Nixon suffered a shoulder separation. Taken together, Worthy, McAdoo, and Nixon had generated 40% of the points of our team had scored all year. Losing all 3 destroyed our attitude. We are silently deciding that if anyone had the right to lose, it was us. This simply wasn't our year. What else could we do? Never mind that we had 3 of the finest players in the league, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Jamal Wilkins, all in perfect health. Never mind that our bench was strong and that we were actually ahead of the third quarter in every single game of the finals. Instead of focusing on our remaining strengths and letting them blossom even more, we mentally gave in. We drank in. All of the solace that our injuries had elated from other fans and media, we assumed that we were off the hook, that our consequences of losing somehow wouldn't fall on shoulders with the attitude. It's easy to understand how we lost 4 straight to the 76ers, one of the few sweeps in NBA Finals.
I'm all in. Those warp elements mixed in the lab, combined powerfully.
People often get
the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments.
The ghost of the document have come. What up in all the golden universe? Peace aloha, river dirty, huskies, the husky wings, ciao, sayonara, good golden journeys, and see you on the flippity flip. If that don't deserve more likes, comments, shares, and downloads, and possibly files, I don't know. Micro Machine Man, what up? Shit's real out there.
Like that, all day, in your hood, golden shows, golden moves, show us, late lights, look at my gold.
Peace, everybody, GoldenDebateShow, Golden Debate Show. We out.
Talking like that, we're talking. Golden Debate Show. Golden Debate Show.
Down there in one of those catacombs. This other guy, what they look like, I don't know.
Let's go make everybody. Golden Show. Golden Robes. Golden Boss.